everyone, welcome back to Beekeeping with Natalie, or welcome to if you are new. Today we're going to be hopefully making some splits. I'm not going to lie, the last couple of weeks have been just kind of, if they're strong enough, just barely strong enough, just split them down. Because we're trying to double this year, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, just because we're at that point where I don't want to split all of our hives, because then we're not going to get very much of a honey crop, and we don't want that at all, because we need honey. But it's just hard because this is the time that I would want to split, but I just don't want to split all of our doubles that have supers on them. So we're going to do it on this hive today. The background story to this one is, well, actually I don't really know, but I think there were two hives here originally. There's actually nothing in this hive right now, but there were two boxes right here, and then they got combined, and then we made splits off of them, and then they lost a queen, so then we made it a cell builder. And now it basically has nothing in it but food, I think. So we're going to split them down. And pretty much if any of our hives, they just don't look the best, or I don't really want them anymore, I don't like the queen in there, or they're just not doing what we want them to do, or we want to maybe get rid of where they're located, we just split them all down and then add queens to them. That's the benefit to being able to graft. We always have cells going, I mean always. And it's great that we always have cells that we can use, but it also sucks because like today we have like 20 cells or more that we don't know where to put them because we split all of our hives. Now I've got these ones today that I'm going to hopefully try to find a place for them. If I don't find a place today, then they are just going to have to be smushed and thrown aside. But let's talk about pronukes for a second. So I've got two right here. We've got pronukes pretty much everywhere right now, and the yard's a little bit of a mess. We've been out of town and just barely here, so if you say anything about there's probably poison ivy behind me, I know, and I'll also find out tomorrow. So anyways, moving on. Okay, so here's what a pronuk looks like if you don't know. I've got two here that I'm going to assemble. Now I know people talk about having to assemble pronukes, but it's really not that big of a deal, and it's super easy. So I'm just going to show you how to do it if you don't know. This is just how I've been told to do it. So it comes with just like 4 pieces inside. So it's got these frame rests, and these have little notches on them. You want to pay attention to that because they have to go up like that. So they just slide in right here, just like that. Now they do fall out if you like shake the box or tip it upside down, but they're not going to fall out or anything typically. So each one has the little notches, so just pay attention to make sure that those are facing up. And then these are the entrances. One thing you'll notice about these is there's a small writing right here that says out, and that has to be facing outwards because there's also a little notch right here that if you ever go to close it, it basically like latches behind the entrance on it. So this is just how I put it on. You just slide it into the top here, and then I bend it right here, put it in, and then just shove it into the sides right there. Now because it's a little notch inside there, you can slide it down and then it'll lock behind, because this little piece gets locked behind the spot inside. This is all girl language because I don't know what else to say. But then I always keep one side closed and then the other side open. So for the other side, you just put it in the same way, but instead of pulling it down, you pull it up and then you'll hear it click. So that's it. So then it looks like a little tent. So I know that that side's the open one. And then on the lids, there's always a bunch of different features to it, but the one thing I would recommend definitely paying attention to is vented. So on the sides here, it says no vent, and then the side it says vented. And then on the lid, there's a piece right here, like an opening. Now I always 100% keep it on vented no matter what. I don't think I'd ever put it on no vent because like today it's about 1,000,000 degrees outside and it really sucks. So I'm making sure that they're on vented. Even when we transport them, I make sure that they're on vented. And I let people know that too. They don't usually, I haven't noticed that they can actually get out of it when it says vented. So I don't think it's something to worry about, like if you decide to put them in the back of your car or something. Anywho, let's open this up and see what's going on. There shouldn't be too many bees in here at all. So what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna go to a different hive and actually pull some brood out. Now, our splits don't have to be that big. I think honestly, some of these are like, I don't know about this one. So this is only a 3-frame split and they're actually building up and doing good. There's a laying queen in there, so We're really only making like 3-frame splits right now because of the honey flow. We can make really small splits and they're going to build up as long as they have a laying queen here in the next couple weeks. Okay, so let's make a split here. Now, I think some people take splitting really seriously, and you probably should. I'm just not one of those people. I just kind of split it and I hope for the best. Now, we have had some that have absconded, probably because I just don't end up getting back to them, but like this frame here, it's kind of messed up. I'm not going to put that into a split, but I'm just going to see if I can find a solid frame of food here. Now, there's plenty of food out there right now. I mean, pretty much everything you can think of is blooming. So I'm not too worried about food, but like this is just a solid honey frame here. So I'm going to add that to this. And then also sometimes if I end up with more food than I need, like I know this whole top box is going to be mostly food, then I'll go ahead and just freeze this and I'll be able to use it for any of the hives here in the next couple weeks that we end up dew splitting and there's no honey flow after that. So they'll definitely go to use at some point, just maybe not today. Here's another solid honey frame, just food frame. I'm going to put that in there too. Now if you want, you can literally just do a frame of food and a frame of solid brood and then bees. And then maybe if you want to add like a foundation frame, you can. I'm going to add 2 frames of food just because I have lots of it. Now if you are making a split and you want it to be pretty strong, I would typically recommend doing a food or brood, or a food and then a solid frame of brood, then maybe like a foody broody and maybe like a comb frame. That's like a solid split right there in my opinion. But I'm just kind of seeing what I can get out of them because these girls are going to go anyways. So if I can get a couple of splits out of it, that would be great. Now I know, or at least I'm pretty sure there's not really any brood in here, but let's go ahead and just check to make sure. So there's nothing in that. There's not really anything in here, maybe just a little bit of food. I have another hive this year that we've kind of just, oh, for a second I thought I saw eggs and I was like, uh-oh, I don't know how that would have happened. No, there's definitely not eggs. Whew. That would happen to me if in the middle of a video, but anyway, I have one hive that we kind of dedicated to just pulling brood from. So it's a solid queen that's actually, she's a blue dot, so she's pretty old in my opinion, but she's doing really good. So I've just been kind of pulling brood from her all year, so that's what I'm going to do again today. So this is all just food. I really don't think I'm going to find much brood. I think this is like a really small frame. Okay, here's a little tiny frame of brood here, just a small patch. I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to go and get a good frame of brood from that hive I was just talking about, because I don't think there's anything else in here for brood, and that's not enough for me. I usually like a pretty good frame of brood. So that's pretty much all that's in here. So what I'm going to do is make another small split off of them with just using their food. I have another pro nuke here that's unassembled, but I think this one actually is good, so let's just use that. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did to this one. Now I am going to have to go and find some more brood, which is okay though. So let's pull, I think there was a good frame of food over here. Now, I do want to mention that like earlier in the year, when we first started making splits, we took it a lot more seriously and we made some really strong, healthy splits because the weather was still a little iffy, and those were also the splits that we were going to sell. So I wanted to make sure that they were nice and strong before we did sell them. Okay, so this is a good frame of food also. So I'm going to add that. And then I'm also going to make sure that I shake all of the bees that are in here. Now there's really not many, but there's hardly any bees in this box. So I'm going to shake some of these to make sure that they just have plenty in there. I mean, there's really not many bees on this frame, but if I can just shake most of them. There's a good bit on the bottom board too. So I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to go find probably 2 to 3 frames of brood, maybe 2 solid ones and then 1 half, So I can put a solid frame in here and then 1.5 in there. And then I might put another frame of brood in there just because I have plenty of food. And then I'll go through this, shake all the bees, and then put all the food that I want into this box and then set it aside for later in a dearth when we need some food for some of the other hives. And then I'm just gonna add a queen cell, which I put right here. So it'll just be pretty simple. I'll just take this out, drop it right in between those brood frames, and then we'll come back. I'll mark which day I put it on. So today's the 13th of June. I'll mark it that we did that, and then here in a few weeks I'll come back and check it. I usually do like to check them. I'll probably check them in the next couple of days to make sure that she did emerge out of her cell, because sometimes they'll end up dying just randomly, and if that does happen, I just want to make sure that I notice it before it's too late and they start getting a laying worker. So a lot of people say you don't want to check your splits for weeks until you know for sure that the queen is going to be laying at that point. But I would always recommend, if you're doing cells, check them a couple days after you know they should have emerged. That way you can just see that she did come out, because I've had a lot this year that they just ended up dying, and then it kind of screws you up a little bit. So that way I'll just know to come back and add another one, because we have plenty of cells to add. But I think that's it. So we're just kind of doing that to any of our weaker hives, just so we can get a little bit more out of them, even though I am going to have to pull from some of our others. But that's another reason that I talk about resource hives all the time, is for reasons like this, because like right now I just need a couple frames of brood. So if I go to a resource hive, I can just take from them and it's not going to affect them very much. So anyways, I've done a lot of talks on those. If you ever went to the expo and saw my talk, that was exactly kind of what I was talking about for this exact reason. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. Did I talk about the shirt? I don't think I did. Okay, I'll talk about the shirt really fast before we end this. This is just a Beekeeping with Natalie shirt. I believe it says Beekeeper on the back with like a flag. I've talked about it before a little bit, but I'll leave the website in the description if you want to check it out. We've got a couple different shirts on there. We actually have a hat. I know some people want a camo hat. I promise I'm working on it. It's a lot of work. Anyways, that's all for today. So thanks for watching today's video. Follow along for more bee adventures, and be here next time on Beekeeping with Natalie.